Despite the Falcons draft class only being 5 players, it is a quintessential example of small but mighty, right? Quality over quantity. And we've got some new data, some new evidence that supports my theory, which is the Falcons killed this draft. So I saw this article from Pro Football Focus, and it ranked all 32 draft classes by total snaps from college from all their draftees. So the Seattle Seahawks draft class came in first with all their draftees combining for 22,970 snaps. It only included offense and defense. And so I was curious, all right, where's Atlanta? Only 5 picks, probably towards the bottom. And sure enough, there they are at 29th. But I started to realize this isn't really that great of, a chart, of a graph, because it just tells you who had the most draft picks, right? You have 11 picks versus 5 picks. Yeah, you're going to have more snaps from all of your draftees. You have 6 more players contributing to that pot. So I felt like PFF had a good idea, but they did not execute it as well as I would have, which is what I did. And that was take all 32 draft classes and then find the average snaps per draft class. So you take the Falcons, you divide it by 5, you get 1,974 snaps for the Falcons draft class, which now they jump up all the way to 13th. Now the Jags come in first. A big reason was because Travis Hunter logged offense and defensive snaps. No one else did that. The Titans, Cam Ward, he played 6 years of college football. Tyler Shuck was in college football for nearly a decade. Close to a decade than not a decade. He was Justin Herbert's backup. So yeah, some of those teams that selected some really old players were going to have a lot of snaps being contributed. Meanwhile, you look at the Falcons draft class, and on average, it's top half in the entire 32 draft class pool from last year, 2025 this year. But there's not a lot of, old farts here. Like Jalen Walker played 3 years at Georgia. James Pierce played 3 years at Tennessee. Xavier Watts did play 5 years at Notre Dame. His first year, he played 2 games in 2020 before redshirting. So not like he had 5 or 6 years of a ton of, games being played to boost up his snaps. May as well just been a 4-year guy. Billy Bowman, 4-year guy. Jack Nelson, similar boat of Watts. He was a 2020 freshman, redshirted, played 1 game for Wisconsin. So in all reality, Atlanta is 13th in average snaps for their draft class. And of their 5 guys, 1, 2 only played 3 years, and then 1, 2, 3 played 4 years. It's not like this draft class was being carried by some super duper Brandon Weeden senior. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a Tyler Shuck who played 6, 7 years of college football just skewing all the data. I think this draft class for the Falcons is going to go down as one of the best draft classes in the 21st century for Atlanta. And to me, that says 2 things. 1, kudos to Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris. I really like the picks they made. I think they found 3 no-doubter starters in Jalen Walker, James Pierce, and Xavier Watts. And that's how it should be. Your first few picks should be your best picks. You are picking earlier. You are getting better players. And I love all 3 of these selections. Now, coming in at 13th here, I feel like this is a very good data point, let's call it, for Falcons fans post-draft to look at now and go, all right, so the Falcons, as they get ready for 2025, despite only having 5 picks, these 5 guys come in with a lot of experience, right? We can relook at the draft class for Atlanta, and those 5 picks for the Falcons are going to join a locker room that needs experienced rookies. I don't think this is the time to sit back and develop. You got Michael Penix entering year 2 of his 5-year rookie contract. Bijan Robinson, Drake London on their rookie deals. An NFC South that is winnable. This is not the time to sit back and just let things develop for a couple of years. Now, you want to strike right now. You're coming off an 8-9 season where you feel like you left a lot of meat on the bone. And so you go out and get, with only 5 picks, the 13th most experienced draft class in the draft by average snaps. I'm going to choose to be pretty upbeat about that. I'm going to choose to drink that Kool-Aid and be a half glass full type of person when I see that type of data. So more evidence in my eyes. And I'm sure I'm coming in a little biased right now and just being a little bit, too jolly and just looking for good news and things like that to support my theory, my narrative that the Falcons draft class was great. But it's hard not to see something like that and go, yeah, that's a nothing. No, I think it is something. I think it is something to sink your teeth into. And I'll go as far to say, and this is where people might really start to yell at me in the comments, this might be the best draft class since 2001. Now, I'm not going to grade last year's draft class yet, which could be very good if Michael Penix turns out to be an awesome pro, because it's just too early to say. But I was just kind of doing a quick 60-second, top 5 draft classes for the Falcons since 2000. And I'm basing it off a few things. One, it's got to have some good balance to it. Like Matt Ryan's the best player drafted, but he's the breadwinner in this 2008 draft class. He's not getting a lot of support from his fellow draft mates. Whereas like Roddy White had him and Jonathan Babineau. So like 2 good long-term starters, right? Michael Vick had Algie Crumpler. Like you had some, and Roberto Garza too. I forgot about him. It's like you got 3 long-term starters right there. And there were some other good ones as well, but you can, agree or disagree with me down below. Let me know where I went wrong, where I went right. But for now, I'm going to say this is the Falcons draft rankings top 5 since 2000. And I really do feel like Jalen Walker, James Pearson, Xavier Watts are going to be 3 guys that all play for the Falcons for 7 to 9 years, which may not sound like a huge home run, but take a stroll down some recent Falcons draft classes and you'd kill for guys who were on this team for 7 to 9 years because they deserve to be on this team for 7 to 9 years. And if they get 3 7 to 9 year players from their 5 picks this year, it's probably going to shoot up towards number 1. So the reason why I also have Vick at number 1, his draft class 01, is I look at it as a draft class, right? Now, what happens later on, if you get, say, arrested, I'm not going to fault the Falcons front office in 2001 too much for that happening down the road. Sure, you shouldn't ignore red flags, but I don't think there was a red flag that Vick's got a case for the dogfights. So I'll put that at number 1. All right, before we shift gears and talk about this draft class in more detail, I do want to give a big special shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. As we get deeper into the playoffs, if you are looking for just an extra bit of fun while watching some of these playoff games, Prize Picks is a great place to check out because it's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Here's an example of what selections look like. I'm taking the more on Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton while taking the less on Cat. So if you want to have some extra, enjoyment while watching the Eastern Conference Showdown here, get started at Prize Picks right now. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, I want to zero in on 2 players from this draft class that I feel like we have not discussed enough. That way, you're just more knowledgeable about all 5 players. We've talked a lot about Walker, Pearson, even Bowman playing slot for this team. But how about Xavier Watts, the safety that the Falcons got out of Notre Dame? The safety that Atlanta traded back up into day 2 earlier to select. So a little bit of background on Watts. Played 5 seasons, but he played 2 games his freshman year before redshirting in 2020. So let's call it 4 seasons. He started the last 2, and man, did he make an impact. two-time All-American, the Bronco Nagurski Award winner, and captain for the Fighting Irish. He's got pretty average size. I'm not going to sell him off as the best athlete in this draft. Like, that's more Nicky Manwari from South Carolina, and that's why he went much earlier in day 2. But Watts has great instincts, and that's a tough thing to coach. You can't coach speed, there's no doubt about it, but how often do we see track stars get into the NFL and then flame out? I won't be surprised if Watts is starting week 1 next to Jesse Bates. For the time being, I'm going to pencil in Jordan Fuller as the starter since he is a veteran. He knows Raheem Morris's defense from LA. He's been a long-time starter in this league. But by week 1, week 2, or week 3 of the preseason, we could easily see a flip at the safety position. And if it's not week 1, it won't be too long before I think Watts makes himself a consistent starter on this defense. So I'm super excited for him. I feel like he could be Atlanta's next big playmaking DB, with Bates having 2 years left on his contract, and I expect an extension to get done, but still, he's getting a little older, right? I would say he's right in the prime of his career right now, and pairing him with a younger version of himself, I don't see the downside in that at all. All right, the other player that I want to throw at you is guy who's gotten the least amount of airtime, and that is Jack Nelson, Atlanta's 7th round pick out of Wisconsin. First thing I want you to learn about him is the dude is massive. He was a 4-star recruit that stayed home to play for the Badgers, 6'7", 318 pounds. Now, all linemen are big, but this is a 1 percentile type big. 6'7", 318. Now, he's not the best necessarily at mirroring what opposing defenders do. He's got a knack for, unfortunately, getting his hand stuck in the cookie jar. He had a bunch of penalties throughout his time at Wisconsin, but he also brings some versatility in. Started 37 games at left tackle, 13 games at right guard. He believes he is best suited to play right tackle. And let me tell you, that is music to Raheem Morris's ears, because McGarry is entering the final year of that 3-year contract he signed not too long ago. And with Michael Penix being a lefty, the Falcons are in search of a pass-first right tackle. And that's not McGarry. And McGarry's a good tackle, but he's a run-first tackle. And unfortunately, that's not the best combination for a lefty quarterback. And so if the Falcons don't want to entertain flipping Matthews to the other side of the offensive line, since for a decade he's only known left tackle, and even at A&M, he's only known, his whole life probably, he's only known left tackle. I understand this late in his career, that may not be the best play. So you ride out the last year of McGarry's contract. You let Jack Nelson spend a whole year developing in practice, right? Getting up to NFL game speed and whatnot. Just learning the position of right tackle, since everything's reversed from left tackle. And then you go into next offseason, now with him in Penn at right tackle, but a little bit more peace of mind that you've already got a start at replacing McGarry if you let him walk in free agency. Doesn't mean you can't turn to the draft and find a different starting right tackle, but you don't go into the offseason going, we're starting from scratch. No, you've got someone at that spot right now who could help you out. So I'm super excited to see what Nelson can offer this team during training camp and preseason, because sure, we're talking about a 7th-round offensive tackle. I get that. But we're also talking in what minute of this video right now, Reed? 14th minute. You're in the 14th minute of an Atlanta Falcons YouTube video on May 20th. Yeah, I know my audience, and I know you guys do care about the nitty-gritty stuff like that, because the casuals checked out 10 minutes ago. So who was your favorite draft pick made by the Falcons this year? Factor in like where they got them as well. If you do pure value, I think I might want to go with Xavier Watts. Like, I'm excited for these two. Walker is probably going to be / definitely the best player of the bunch, but I think Watts is going to be a sneaky good safety. And I don't think it'll be sneaky for very long. Let's pick a commenter out of the chat to give 2 claps to wrap it all up here. Let's go with, looking good for Byron. Byron, thank you so much for hopping in the chat. Shout out to you. 2 claps. 1, 2. I'll see everyone later.